This video is about public choice theory from chapter 6 in the public economics textbook. Have a look at the first page and highlight for yourself what you think is important. I didn't highlight the first stick with Rawlsian theory of justice. You will see that I will just quickly brush over that. I think the median voter theory is important. You should understand what that means. You should definitely know what Kenneth Arrow was famous for, what log rolling or vote trading is, because we will see that a lot in South Africa. I think the theory of optimal voting rules is quite neat and important. Then obviously the maximizing behavior of politicians and bureaucrats and government failure. I'm not going to cover that in this video, but it's really very important, paragraph 6.7. In the introduction, it's important to know, I mean you know this already, but so if a dictator takes all the decisions, it's one person or one small group taking decisions on behalf of everyone. The opposite of that is unanimity rule, where everybody has a say and we need to get consensus with a decision. And then somewhere in between we have majority voting, where if you have a majority of the people, and even if you don't please everyone, you can take a decision for society if the majority is in favor of something. Now, you don't have to understand the Rawlsian experiment, but you must know how the Rawlsian welfare function looks. He said the welfare of society is equal to the minimum level of utility of the different people in society. So the poorest person, the minimum utility would be that of the poorest person. So the poorest person utility is equal to the welfare of society. If that was the case, then we would want to redistribute. We would want to give from the rich to the poor, because then the welfare of society would increase, because the minimum would become bigger. So Rawls said, if everyone could just put themselves in the shoes of the very poor, and they would make decisions from that point of view, then we would much easier have redistributed wealth until everybody is in a better shape. The median voter, read everything that you can on that, because that is very relevant, I think, in all democratic societies. If you arrange all the voters, say from left wing to right wing, on the horizontal axis, then the person in the middle is not neither left nor right. I mean, the majority of the people are very close to the middle of the pack thinking, right? You get the very right wing and the very left wing. They won't agree with the middle of the road idea. So in the United States, they basically have two big parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, and they take turns to win, because the people, the Republicans close to the middle, are very similar to the Democrats close to the middle. It just depends on the issues of the day, which they think are very important. Now, in the last election, the Republicans lost, so the middle of the median voter was definitely part of the Democrats, and hence they won the election. In another year, more people will vote for the Republicans, and then the median voter will be part of them. How does it look in South Africa? 10 years ago, the ANC got close to 65% of the vote, and they were very close to being able to change the constitution. Then certainly the median voter was an ANC member. But since then, the EFF broke away from them, and And many people left the ANC even to the DA, or many people left them for Action SA, and so on. So the picture looks different now. Recently they won the election, so I think the median voter is still ANC. But people in the Action SA or to the left side of this DA group, they all think very much alike. So if they could convince some ANC members to join them, or some more DA members to join them, then the middle of the pack thinking could very much be Action SA. The EFF is always going to be radical, I think, and the right-wing whites on the very right are always going to be radical, and hence they will probably never win an election. The Arrow's impossibility theorem is poorly explained in the textbook, so I'm not going to ask you to understand what they try to explain. You can rather Google the impossibility theorem and see what it really said. But what it does say is that it's not always possible, it's hardly ever possible, actually, to derive a logically consistent set of social preferences from a corresponding set of individual preferences. So if we have three individuals and they show what their preferences are, Brenda likes L best, and then M, and then S, and so on, then what will be society's preferences be if these were the individual preferences? You should be able to see that there is no clear logic, because there's a majority choosing L over M, there's a majority choosing M over S, and there's a majority choosing S over L. So it's a circular type of preferences. So that's what Arrow said. Arrow actually said that a benevolent dictator is the only way of consistently setting social preferences. One person that wants the benefit of everyone will be able to set such preferences, but just by adding up the individual preferences, you won't be able to get to a unique society preferences. Preference intensities. If we could have weights on our preferences, if you feel very strongly about something, and you could have a double vote or a triple vote for that, and perhaps weaker votes for other things that you don't feel so intense about, then the outcomes of voting would have been completely different, but we don't have that. However convinced I am of an outcome, I just have one vote. That's it. So what happens in practice is lock rolling or vote trading. So a minority could trade its support for an issue. If a minority feels very strongly about an issue, they could say to a possible majority, we will support you, we will vote for you in exchange for your supporting our minority view in one or two aspects. And this happened, right? This happened recently when the different coalition governments had to choose mayors. The DA could convince the EFF to vote for them. The EFF said they will never vote for the ANC, but they were willing to vote for DA mayors in exchange for something. For example, in exchange for getting the speaker chair or getting an important post in the committee. So in that case, the EFF is a minority, but they could trade their votes. They could become the kingmaker in some instances. An important section to me, which I think I could ask in a test, is the optimal voting rules by Buchanan and his colleague, who said that there are two types of costs in voting. If you would have dictator on the very left and you have unanimity rule on the right where you need consensus, then the first type of cost is external cost. External cost is the cost on someone who didn't have a vote. Someone else decides for me and I'm unhappy, and that's a cost to me. That's a cost, the external cost. So if a dictator makes all the decisions, then the external cost is very high because these decisions could impact on almost all society. But to the right of the picture, there's no external cost because everybody has a say, and you just say what you want. So since they have to consult you, there's no external cost on you. But decision-making cost will increase the more people that have to be part of the decision. A dictator could very easily make a decision quickly and the decision-making cost could be low. But if everybody has to give consent, then it could take a long time to get to a decision, and the decision-making cost would increase the more people that you have to please. So the total cost is this vertical sum of that. And then there's a certain point where you get an optimal size of a majority. Now, when our Constitution authors wrote the Constitution, for some reason they decided the optimal majority to change the Constitution is 65%. But so Buchanan and Tulloch also had an optimal majority, and that is where the total decision-making cost, total voting cost is minimized. So, as I said, the 6.7 is on government failure. The government can fail because of the natural actions by politicians, or the natural actions, the rational actions by bureaucrats, or through corruption. Three big ways where the government can fail. It's very easy to read that. We see it all around us every day. So 6.7 is very important, but that's for your own study. Thank you very much.